So I've been living with this discovery set from Maison for several months now, but as fall weather finally approaches, I thought it was time to talk about the house. As we'll get to later, my favorite from the line is very much a nice kind of fall weather type fragrance. So first off, in short, I believe this line is the real deal. Overall, I think they're really good. They're very classic French. Many of them smell like things you may have smelled before, especially if you're familiar with Chanel's catalog, but I don't find them overly derivative, but they're just blessedly bullshit free. I always feel like discovering a new house is a bit like dating someone. You first notice them from across the room, something about them intrigues you. I believe I had watched the Perfume guys' interview with the founders, and they sounded nice, but it still didn't really push me into trying it yet because they talk about so many brands there, no one can keep up. But then it was a fellow bass noter whose taste I respect had mentioned that he was buying a backup bottle of the one that got discontinued before they did a bottle change. So they've remade the bottles. They say it's mostly for environmental reasons because the glass is thinner and therefore cheaper to ship or easier to ship, less emissions to ship. I've not seen the bottles in person. I kind of don't like the design of the newer ones so much, but maybe they're prettier in person. But I have heard that the old ones are quite heavy and thick. So I'm fine with that. Another thing that kind of gives me faith in this brand, if you look at their prices, they've actually lowered them slightly because more or less the 100 ml new bottle is close to the same price as the previous 75 ml bottle. And they also offer more size options now. There's a 50 ml for the incredibly reasonable price of, I guess here it's in euros, of 100 euros. So I think really fairly reasonably priced line, especially as we get into it for the quality here. Now this is a historic house that was bought by, I believe, a group of fragrance students who did something of a thesis project about it. And they employed Nathalie Lorson to do all these fragrances. I won't talk too much about the history because there are videos about that, and their website has quite a lot of nice information about the history of the house. But in short, many of these are named after some of the fragrances that go back into the house's history, but none of them are like one-to-one recreations. I think they're more inspired by either the name or the concept, but I don't think it's any of the old formulas fully revived. So as I was saying with my dating metaphor, I got curious when I heard that, someone I respect was buying a backup. So I ordered a couple of these little carded samples, I believe from Ministry of Scent, I think that's the one, but I couldn't find a website that had the full discovery set. But when I got these three, I was massively impressed and thought, well, I better order the discovery set because that includes the to be discontinued one, and I want to smell it while it's still available in a few shops. It's funny and a little sad, but also sort of what are you going to do that us fragrance people tend to only really jump on things once they're discontinued. I believe it was Christophe Lodimiel from the Zoo who had mentioned how many of those perfumes just sat for years getting no love, but as soon as they're discontinued, people are rushing to try them. But I suppose that's just human nature, and I'm not above it either. So I ordered this discovery set from a small boutique I found randomly in Richmond, Virginia. And one complaint is they came, many of them, half or more empty. So I've used some of these, but you can see this one and this one, I suppose, had a leakage problem. I contacted them and they did not reply. And I contacted again and they did not reply. I suppose as a small business, I hate to see them lose money. Maybe this was their last discovery set and they thought there's nothing they can do about it. But it's unfortunate because I probably would have bought my bottle from them, but now I won't because what if that one comes half empty and they don't reply then either. But anyway, glad to have the discovery set in my hands. So let's start getting through them. The discovery set also included these nice little labeled blotters. So we'll start with my favorite. We'll jump to the chase. Sketch. This is fantastic. Sort of patchouli fragrance. I said many of these, not many, but a few of these have analogs in Chanel, and I would say this one reminds me a bit of Coromandel. it's funny, I sprayed most of these blind at first without looking at the notes. And I remember instantly liking this and thought, gosh, why do I like that so much? That's so, so good. And it took me like a few hours to realize, oh, it's Coromandel, and I love Coromandel. It's like seeing a familiar friend or a familiar face at that party. But I wouldn't say it's too derivative. They're classic in a good way, not classic in a kind of old-fashioned, musty, fusty smelling way. I have Coromandel in Parfum and in EDT, and I still want this. So I think it separates itself enough, but that'll get you in the ballpark. So some of the listed notes are nutmeg, pink pepper. Oh, I'm looking at, wow, that's sketch. Wow, see, we look at the notes, you're shocked because I thought this was the wrong fragrance because it says tuberose, rose, vanilla, patchouli, tonka bean. What I really appreciate about this, certainly it is that sort of semi-sweet but very smooth patchouli with vanilla, but I get this real sort of green, almost mentholated, ozonic freshness that holds on. I suppose that's likely the pink pepper or just the quality of patchouli, but it somehow is like dark yet light and fresh, yet quite long lasting. I feel like the dry down and bases of all of these is really, really beautiful and satisfying. I just remember each time I wore this, smelling it on my shirt the next day or on my skin in the morning, just thinking, wow, that's so good. So maybe a little less patchouli than Coromandel, a little less rich. But to me, my favorite part about this, what really distinguishes it, is it has that like fresh, almost just like you open a window. It's like something heavy and rich and really gorgeous, but the window is open and like a light breeze is coming in. So if you like patchouli, if you like Coromandel and don't mind having like variations on a theme, I would say definitely check out Sketch. Really, really good. Next up, this poor guy who came nearly empty, Nuée Bleue. And this is this is the Iris. Yeah, again, these are just so fantastically well done. They're smooth, they smell high quality, they smell well constructed, they smell great from top to bottom, they last nicely, they're not too heavy, none of the kind of familiar suspect of modern aroma chemicals, yet they don't smell overly vintage or sort of out of time. It's a really beautiful iris. Again, kind of, I feel like a lot of these fragrances are sort of Goldilocks fragrances. So like the platonic ideal of that type of style, which is saying quite a lot because a lot of great perfumes have been made along these themes. And to say that this relatively newly revamped house is creating kind of the ideal version of many of these is quite a significant statement, I suppose. So Nuée Bleue, what can I say? It's again, if you've smelled Iris, if you've smelled Dior Homme, you'd be familiar with this. More irisy than Dior Homme, not really powdery at all, very cool and smooth. Apparently they make a soap out of this and it has a little bit of that soapy iris smell as well. But really beautiful. Again, a really satisfying and addictive musky dry down in the base. This one says it has citrus in the top, bergamot, lemon, orange blossom, iris, carnation, white musk, benzoin, and sandalwood. So yeah, the citruses, they don't read obviously as like a big citrus opening, but you can really smell like that brightness that it lends the opening. And the white musk is just really well judged. It's not annoying or cloying. It's not laundry white musk. It's just like this pillowy cloud of iris and musk, which is kind of one of my favorite fragrance experiences. So those two are definitely my favorites, Sketch and Nuée Bleue. So we'll go on to Un Air d'Apogée. They said some of these are hard for non-French speakers. French is my comfort zone. I have a minor in it, but I haven't spoken it in ages, so I wouldn't call myself anywhere near fluent. But anyway, here's Un Air d'Apogée, which is, they mention, yeah, tobacco, hay, cashmere, leather, and broxen. So this is their sort of dark leathery fragrance. And again, smells a little bit like something I've smelled before, but it's just so smooth. All of these are so smooth. I definitely get that leather. This one's maybe the most somewhat modern or on-trend smelling. I couldn't tell you exactly which one it's reminding me of, but I feel like it's maybe a smoother version of some of the modern leathers we've smelled from other brands. But yeah, it's got this pleasant, almost like herbal, spicy note to it. It's not overly harsh or kind of like brand new chemical kind of leather. It's more like a smooth, well, it lists suede, so yeah, it's more of a smooth suede. I get the image of like a sort of like dried up dark brown fall leaf with this one. So far, all three of these feel a little bit like fall fragrances, like fall would be the perfect time for these. So next up, we've got Compliment, which is the big tuberose. And yeah, that's a big tuberose. Again, I think you can find a sort of an analog for any of these in classic perfumery. So this obviously is quite a lot like Cardinal Flower. And again, it's also a compliment, not necessarily a knock against it, to say it stands head to head with Cardinal Flower. I will say I slightly prefer Cardinal Flower still because I really love that big sort of green, as others have called it as well, the like florist fridge cold smell that you get in Cardinal Flower. I would say this replaces that with a little more vanilla, so it's maybe a little more cozy and a little bit more warm, but it still does have excuse me, the greenness that tuberose can have, that camphorous type quality. But yeah, if you look at the notes, it's a whole bucket of flowers: orange blossom, eucalyptus, violet, peony, tuberose, jasmine, ylang, freesia, hawthorn, benzoin, hay, vanilla, flax. But it all comes together very smoothly into a single accord. I do get a little bit of that sort of sunscreen ylang and vanilla combo in the base. And tuberose, again, a huge, as tuberose tend to be, a pretty huge performer, but never being loud or screechy or cloying. Just very smooth and well done. That seems to be a theme as we go through the line. Here's Tanagra. All of these I've worn on skin as well, at least once or twice. Yeah, this is kind of the lightest, most just sort of pretty, I suppose, and easygoing fragrance of the lot. Let's see what Tanagra has to say. About testing and notes, I tend to try things without looking at the notes. I might have a vague idea, but I think when talking about them, it's really useful to see what the brand wants you to smell and sort of compare that against what you do smell. And I think it can get the viewer in the ballpark of what they're going to get. So this is fairly light. It says tangerine and pear. I do get, there's like a juicy fruitiness up top. Iris, peony, jasmine, musk, vetiver. This is maybe the least bold, but very kind of easy wearing, more spring summery type fragrance. It's definitely got that sort of creamy floral heart coming up, and that familiar musk. I feel like they're maybe using a similar musk base across a few of these, because the dry down musk reminds me a bit of Nuée Bleue, but it's a really nice musk. I think musk and dry downs are maybe one of the most personal and one of the most difficult to describe aspects of fragrance. But I know the kind of musky dry downs I don't like, and I know the kind that I do like. And these are exactly the kind that I do like. Kind of fluffy without being too powdery, not overly clean and not overly like laundry or generic smelling, not overly animalic or scratchy or woody smelling, but just giving you like this nice warm bed on which all the other ingredients can lie and extend and kind of float on through the duration of the wear. So that was Tanagra, kind of a fairly inoffensive, I suppose you could say, fruity floral, but with a lovely addictive kind of musky irisy dry down. Now we've got Abîme, and this one, ooh, I feel like this one I've tried the least. This is their woody spicy fragrance. It says black pepper, chili pepper, Palo Santo, elemi, sandalwood, incense, cedar. So yeah, this is their spicy woody fragrance. Yeah, I'm getting pepper. I don't get anything literally chili pepper, but there is sort of if you smell really deeply, hot spiciness to it, but nothing that leaps out. Definitely getting a cedary and Palo Santo base. This one's actually really nice. I'm getting a little bit of, I hate to say this because it doesn't smell anything like it, but the Santal 33 sandalwood, but just the tiniest drop in the way in the background, but that sort of modern woody base, but also reminding me of maybe a more complex Lorenzo Villaresi Sandalo. His is more, I think, straightforward, more natural smelling, not as many notes. But something about the sandalwood aspect of this is reminding me of that, giving you the kind of old library, old polished wooden floors type smell. Definitely one I should revisit and wear some more. I think if I had one maybe suggestion for the line, if anybody's listening, many of these do feel like fall winter fragrances. I suppose we have the floral, the tuberose, and the lighter kind of fun spring Tanagra, but this again is one that feels suited to fall. But maybe it's kind of nice to have like a house, like the name Violet is very evocative. Maybe these like cool dusky fall nights, you could say, is maybe a house style as a kind of fragrant imagery. And lastly, Pourpre d'automne. I believe this is the one that unfortunately got the axe, and I liked it a lot, but not enough that I didn't jump on buying a bottle while I had the chance. Yeah, this is the big, violet, which is unfortunate for something called Maison Violet, that the violet got the axe. But yeah, really pretty. You get that more kind of chalky, powdery violet. It has something in common with Nuée Bleue, but again, the color wheel turned from sort of this light, dusky, warm, irisy blue to more of a bright, vibrant, powdery, violety blue. Really, really lovely. If I was to compare it to something, maybe Chanel Mesia, but Chanel Mesia is so huge and bold and in your face compared to this. This is quite soft and cozy and warm. I hope my camera angle's not too bad and you're just kind of staring at nothing while I talk. But this one lists violet, iris, rose, musk, peach, oak moss, plum, benzoin. As I'm smelling it again, I'm thinking, wow, I'm a little bit sold on this. I'm not the biggest violet fan, and actually I don't think I own any straightforward violet perfumes. I don't have Mesia. But it is very lovely. I think, again, like with all of these, the magic is in the balance. It's done just right. I think if you're looking for something really groundbreaking and cutting edge and of the moment, you won't find it here. But if you're looking for something just really well done, especially in a classic French style, you might find a lot to love with these fragrances, particularly if you like Chanel. But I think it's just so refreshing. I wish brands like this would get more of people's money versus those venture capital brands like PDM and Initio and these things that they're really just fake brands, just done by people who see an investment opportunity. Whereas this brand really feels like it has love behind it. It has true perfumers working with master perfumers and giving them the credit. It has history, which I don't think is necessary, but it adds a nice depth to the story. They're trying new things in terms of their environmental friendliness, and also they have the cycle program where they release a limited edition of something that once you buy it, you can get it endlessly refilled, so it's sort of like your special fragrance. I've not tried any of those, and they've had a fairly slow release schedule. I think they have the 2 cycles plus this lot, and that's it, and they haven't released anything in a while. I do hope going forward, maybe they release something a little more unique, something we've never smelled before, but I know that's really difficult. But overall, I think this brand is the real deal. This brand is not a cheap imitation. I've been dying to do that, like in a movie where they finally say the movie's title in the movie and everybody flips out. Anyway, so yeah, really, really well done. Highly recommend sampling if this style sounds good to you. let's do a quick final run through. Nuée Bleue, yeah, it's already turning more into that soapy, musky dry down, but this is just, that kind of smell is just crack to me. I can't get enough of it. It's really beautiful, really addictive, and cozy smelling. Sketch, yeah, that patchouli is so good. It's been done before, but you know, if you're gonna do something classic, if you're gonna do something within a certain tradition, at least do it well, and they've really done it well here. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Un air d'apogée. Yeah, leathery. I think this is my least favorite. I think because I've just smelled this kind of leather before, this kind of modern leather thing. Again, it's nice in the way it's toned down. It's not overly aggressive or harsh. It's very smooth, but just not my favorite smell. This one, Who Are You? Compliment. Yeah, beautiful tuberose. Goes a little too vanilla for me. If I'm gonna have a big white flower, I kind of want it to stay on the side of greenness, a little bit of freshness. I don't quite love it when it goes into overly sort of vanilla territory, but really well done if you love tuberose. Tanagra. Yeah, this is the lightest of all of them, but super pleasant if you just want kind of a super pleasant, but well done. Something like a Chanel Les Eaux, but I would say better. It smells higher quality, not quite as airy as those, but somewhere in that sort of like light and fun and easy kind of fruity floral type smell. Let's see what we have here. Abîme. Yeah, quite nice. I think probably the over familiarity of that kind of sandalwoody cedar dry down would prevent me from buying this, but I do enjoy it. I think it's very nicely done. Pourpre. This one I struggle. I wore it once and I thought, oh, I need to get that. I don't have a violet. This can be the violet for me. Then I wore it a couple other times and I thought, there's other violets out there. If I get a craving, I could buy if I can't find this anymore. But like I've said probably 3 times now, I'm sorry, it's kind of the Goldilocks version of it, kind of the violets. It's like right in the middle, not too powdery, not too like sour, not too big diva like Misia is, kind of just like perfectly judged and calculated. These are the same ones. I just ordered these first before diving into the entire sample set. So the dating of Maison Violet, I gotta say I have a crush, although we haven't done the full deed yet because I don't have a bottle here. I think if I do buy a bottle, it'll be Sketch going first, and I kind of want to get one of the older style ones. They're still in stock a few places, but apparently I missed a sale on the older style before they revamped the bottle design. So there's Maison Violet. I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know if you've tried these, if you've bought any, and if you have any favorites.